In my previous video, I did a recap on Season 1 of Overlord in anticipation of Season 4 that will be coming out during summer 2022. So continuing with this series, here is my recap on Season 2, and like the previous video, I'll also be giving some opinions regarding the season as well. Season 2 starts with the introduction of several new characters like the leader of the Black Scripture and the extra seed member. We are also introduced to the Platinum Dragon along with his friend Regret. Then in the Reestes Kingdom, the King's daughter Princess Renna and her Night Climb were introduced as well. So with that said, we see ainz returning to Nazarick to discuss about the information he had acquired from the Adventurers Guild with Albedo. In addition, he also talks about the various assignments given to the other Floor Guardians. Aura is currently building a decoy base in the Great Forest, Demirouge is in the Avalon Hills conducting experiments, Sebas and Solution are collecting data in Reestes, and Cocytus is preparing to fight the Lizardman in the Great Lake. We also see SHALLTEAR drowning herself in sorrow for betraying ainz in the previous season. Now going over the events involving the Lizardman in the Great Lake, we are first introduced to the Lizardman brothers Zaryushu and Sarushu Shasha. Then back in their village, a messenger from Nazarick arrives to warn them about their impending doom. In response to the message, Zaryushu suggested to form an alliance with the other Lizardman tribes, so he heads out to the Red Eye and Dragon Tusk tribes as their emissary. In the Red Eye tribe, he met and fell in love with their chieftain CRUSCH LULU, and after explaining the situation, she accepted his offer. As for the Dragon Tusk tribe, Zaryushu was challenged to a duel by ZENBERU GUGU, which he managed to win and gain the help of their tribe. Then Zaryushu, CRUSCH and ZENBERU headed to the Razortail village to prepare for the upcoming battle. Moving on, we see Cocytus in the base constructed by Aura in the Great Forest preparing for the battle as well, and Antoma arrives to give him a series of scrolls to use for the battle. When the battle started, Cocytus severely underestimated the morale and preparations of the Lizardman, so he suffered an embarrassing defeat. Even the Elder Lich he deployed was defeated by Zaryushu in the end. After the battle, he was summoned back to Nazarick. Back in Nazarick, ainz met with the other Floor Guardians and we are introduced to Victim, the Guardian of the 8th Floor. Ainz first inquired about the experiments Demirouge is working on, then hearing SHALLTEAR's request for a proper punishment, and lastly questioning Cocytus about his failure. However, ainz was not angered by his failure and simply wanted Cocytus to learn from his mistakes. Cocytus then made a request to spare the Lizardman, but his reasoning wasn't enough to convince him. But after hearing Demirouge's suggestion, ainz decided to spare the Lizardman and gave the order to prepare for battle. Back at the Lizardman village, a large force of fully equipped undead army arrived and the Floor Guardian Gargantua appeared as well, throwing a giant cube rock in the middle of the frozen lake. It was then followed by a royal procession and ainz along with his other guardians made their appearance. The Lizardman brothers went out as delegates and were given an ultimatum. If they managed to defeat Cocytus in battle, he would leave them alone. After that, ainz left with the other guardians to the base in the Great Forest to observe the battle. Inside the base, Demirouge prepared a throne made out of bones which ainz did not want to use, so he decided to use SHALLTEAR as a chair instead. Although it was supposed to be a punishment, ainz did not expect SHALLTEAR to be so into it, truly a cultured vampire. Back to the battle, Cocytus arrives and the 5 Lizardman chieftains along with the elder Lizardman warriors decided to fight. However, none of them were a match for Cocytus and he easily killed all of them. After winning the battle, Cocytus returned to ainz and he requested that the brothers be resurrected because of their warrior spirit being useful to Nazarick. He even took the initiative to bring CRUSCH, the representative of the Lizardman, to meet ainz, which impressed him. After CRUSCH offered their allegiance to ainz gave her the chance to resurrect Zaryushu, but in return, she must spy on her own kind and look out for any signs of rebellion. She accepted his offer, so Zaryushu was resurrected and they both swore fealty to ainz. That concludes the Lizardman arc and the story moves to the Reestes Kingdom where Sebas and Solution are gathering information. When Sebas was returning from the Magician's Guild, he encountered someone tossing out an unknown sack and he soon found a severely injured woman inside. Remembering what his creator Touchme said, he decides to help her, so he brought her back to the mansion he was staying in. Solution questions him about the woman, but he dismisses the question and orders her to assess the woman's condition. Afterwards, Solution managed to heal the woman while Sebas went out to acquire food. After returning, he served her food and asked for a name, which is Tuare, and gives her his name. He promises to protect her and she is allowed to work as a maid inside the manor, but Solution was still wary over his decision. Later they were visited by Stefan Harvish and Succulent, who demanded Sebas to return Tuare and gave him 1 day to do so. After the two men left, Solution wanted to know how Sebas would proceed, but he dismisses her and left to take a stroll. As soon as Sebas left, Solution contacted ainz and reported that Sebas may have betrayed them, much to his surprise. Somewhere else in Reestes, Brain Anglos awakens from his nightmare about SHALLTEAR and realizes he is in the house of Gazestronov. After that, we are introduced to the Blue Roses who are currently destroying a drug plantation run by the criminal organization called the Eight Fingers. Then we see the Eight Fingers holding a meeting to discuss their business, and COCO, head of the slave trade, asking Zero, head of the security, to retrieve Tuareg who are supposed to be disposed of. Now going back to Reestes, Climb is training by himself but he is later joined by Gazef. The two spot and Gazef briefly talks about a magic caster named Ainz who saved him. After the training, Climb meets with Princess Renner who is having a discussion with Lakius, the leader of the Blue Roses, about the information they acquired from the raid. Climb was then sent to the inn where Gagaran and Evil Eye are staying to inform them about the mission. After informing them about the mission, Climb chatted with them but they soon left to prepare for the mission. Climb also left and he would see Sebas using his skills to save a child that was being beaten. Brain, who was also present, has saw this as well, so after Sebas left, they both separately followed him. Climb decides to approach Sebas and ask him to help him become stronger. Sebas examines his potential and after determining him trustworthy, he gave him a lesson on how to overcome the fear of death. Sebas unleashes a powerful killing aura and at the last possible instance, Climb was able to overcome his fear by thinking of Princess Renner. Brain approaches the both of them asking Climb how he was able to overcome that, and he also asks Sebas to teach him. However, their conversation was interrupted by assassins sent by the Eight Fingers, but Sebas easily took down 3, leaving the other 2 to Climb and Brain. After defeating the assassins, the 3 headed to the brothel where Sebas had rescued Tuareg to take it down. Inside, Sebas easily disposed of the enemies while Brain and Climb were attacking from another entrance. Climb would encounter Succulent and COCO and he was defeated, but Brain arrived in time to take care of them. After the battle, they apprehended 2 members of the Eight Fingers and they all returned to their respective homes. We also see Zero gathering the remaining members of Six Arms to search for the people behind the raid or the brothel. When Sebas returns to the manor, Ainz along with Cocytus, Demirouge and Victim were waiting for him inside. Tuareg was also brought before Ainz and he orders Sebas to kill her to earn his forgiveness. Sebas prepares to kill her, but before the attack lands, it was stopped by Cocytus. After proving his loyalty, Ainz declares that Sebas will end his mission in Reestes and Ainz took Victim back to Nazarick. Sebas then took Tuareg to a room and she kisses him. Later, Sebas met Ainz again to discuss about the fate of Tuareg and Sebas proposed to have her serve as a maid inside Nazarick, which Demirouge is quick to object. Seeing the both of them argue actually reminded Ainz of their creators. To make his choice, Ainz orders Tuareg to be brought in again, and after a series of questions, he decides that she will be a provisional maid for Sebas and is now under his protection. But the real reason he decided to spare her was because Tuareg was the sister of Ninya and he wanted to repay his debt to her. Additionally, Sebas was removed as the leader of the Pleiades and AUREOLE Omega will be taking over with Yuri Alpha serving as the deputy leader. Before Ainz left, Demirouge requested for some grains to feed his Abelion ship, so Sebas and Solution was sent to gather supplies. Going over to the castle, we see Princess Renner is having a discussion with the Blue Roses regarding the Eight Fingers, and to attack them was still vulnerable, she enlists the help of Marquis Raven alongside her brother Prince Zanuck. When Sebas and Solution return, he discovers that Tuareg has been kidnapped by the Six Arms and he has been summoned by them. He orders Solution to contact Ainz and request for assistance. Ainz then orders Albedo to send reinforcements, so the Pleiades, MARE and SHALLTEAR were sent for Demirouge to command. But because Demirouge's plan did not include Sebas, he left with Solution to handle the Six Arms and rescue Tuareg. Demirouge continues to explain his plans and he sends MARE and Thoma to a newly discovered base of the Eight Fingers. At this hideout, Huma of the Eight Fingers wakes up to find MARE there, and after confirming who she is, MARE captures her, and Thoma stayed behind for the cleanup where she will engage Gagaran and Tia in battle. And Thoma almost killed the both of them, but Evil Eye arrived just in time to save them and she was able to defeat Anthoma with her Vermin Bane. Luckily, Demirouge disguised as Yadabaoth appears and sends Anthoma away to safety. He also accidentally killed Gagaran and Tia with his Hellfire Wall. Evil Eye decides to fight him but is stopped when the adventurer Momon arrives. After seeing Momon fighting Yadabaoth, she somehow falls in love with him. Before the battle could end, Yadabaoth decides to retreat and continues with his plan, but Momon, worried about disrupting his plans, orders Nabe to contact Demirouge. Meanwhile, at the location of the Six Arms, Climb and Brain encounter Sebas again and they decided to help him rescue Tuareg. Sebas went in to handle the Six Arms and easily killed everyone while Climb's group went underground to find Tuareg. They found Tuareg, but it was actually Succulent disguised as her, although he was easily defeated by Climb and Lockmere. As for Zero, Sebas arrived with the real Tuareg and he killed him with a single kick. Going outside, we see that a wall of flame is surrounding a portion of the city and everyone soon made preparations to rescue the people inside. When they entered, the attack force led by the Blue Roses started to fight against the various demons, while Climb's group was responsible for finding the people trapped inside. During their search, Brain managed to meet SHALLTEAR again, and this time he finally passed as a nail clipper. While that was happening, Momon, Nabe and Evil Eye went to face Yadabaoth and his masked demon mates. Momon and Yadabaoth took their fight elsewhere and left 3 of the mates to Nabe while Evil Eye fought against Yuri Alpha and Delta. When they were alone, ZENBERU soon explained his 4-part plan to ainz. The first one was to covertly steal all the goods and raw materials from PLEIADES. Second, to cover up their involvement in attacking the 8 Fingers. Third is to capture some humans to be used for experimentations. And lastly, to place the blame on Yadabaoth to further increase the reputation of the adventurer MOMON. After that, we returned to the main fight where Naberao and the others were just chilling while observing Evil Eye. When they received the signal from MARE, Nabe returned to battle and she regroups with Evil Eye. That's when Momo and Yadabaoth return as well and their fight continued, but eventually Yadabaoth decides to take his leave. After the demon left and Momon declared their victory, he returned to Irenta with Nabe. Afterwards, we see the 8 Fingers are now under the control of the twins, the Blue Roses celebrating their victory, Pastonia introduces Tuare as their new recruit, and we see ainz returning to his throne room in Nazrick. Then we get a glimpse of what's to come in Season 3 with the introduction to the Baharuf Empire as well as Fluda Paradine and Emperor Jignif Rune Farlord Elnix discussing about the magic caster ainz and the adventurer Momon. That's everything for Season 2, and to be honest, I have mixed feelings about this season because in the beginning I wasn't really that interested in the Lizardman arc and I found it to be quite boring. But I do like how Season 2 gave more screen time and development to the side characters, especially Sebas, even though it comes at the cost of less time with our Overlord ainz. Additionally, I did notice that the action and violence are a bit more toned down as well, although they did manage to compensate it with some decent humor, good character dialogues, and very interesting character development for the NPCs of Nazrick, so there's that. The pacing of this season is also quite slow in the beginning, and it felt like for the last few episodes they just rushed it way too fast. But overall, the ending and foreshadowing of what's to come in the next season was done very well, and for me, this season of Overlord is definitely on the weaker side but still very enjoyable.
Oh, そうだな。するべきだな。
But anyways, that's it for this Season 2 recap, and we still have Season 3 left, so be sure to watch it when it comes out. Also, do you want to see more Overlord content? If you do, feel free to leave a like or comment down below what you would like to see. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.